The Teeming Universe, an extraterrestrial field guide. Imagine a world post-scarcity, post-hunger, post-poverty. Now imagine that same world was inhabited by a bunch of six-limbed, four-eyed, carnivorous bird people that had a government run off feudalism. Now imagine those same feudalistic, carnivorous bird people colonized another planet with bipedal, one-eyed, insectoid giraffe aliens wandering around on the surface, and then took it even further, establishing colonies across 10 star systems. Now imagine that after they met you, they were still convinced that their species was the only example of intelligence in the universe. What if I told you they were right? What the hell am I going on about this time? Stay tuned to find out right now. If you haven't seen my other videos on the Teeming Universe, you should definitely go watch them. They explain the concept of the book and also cover life inhabiting a few alien worlds. We know about these worlds because of one artist, Christian Cline. They're a great artist, and I'll be linking to their pages in the description. Also, because this is the last episode, after this we're doing a Q&A with the author of the book and artists who worked on the show, so comment down below or tweet at me your questions for Christian, Hopper, or myself. Without further ado, let's take a look at the final two worlds detailed in these pages. Welcome to the world of Tavati, the largest moon orbiting the planet Theta, a planet between the mass of Saturn and Uranus. Despite being a moon, it's incredibly Earth-like. It has 70% the gravity of Earth and a weaker magnetic field. It's also warmer, has higher oxygen, and no ice caps. The large planet it orbits will block out the sun on average every 21 days for about 50 hours. During these times, the temperature will drop considerably, and many species sleep through it or go into complete and total breakdown for fear that the sun will never come back. Tavati is prone to asteroid impacts due to Theta's high gravity, and around 4 million years ago, one of these strikes wiped out 75% of life. It now exists in the late stages of recovery. Tavati isn't just any world, it's an alien colony belonging to the Yatuan. They come from Yaetu, but we'll get to that in a sec. Around 850 years ago, over 2 million Yatuan colonists arrived on a massive superstructure to Tavati. Presently, this moon is home to about 40 million of these aliens.
Well, technically, to me, you're the alien.
They live in cities floating hundreds of feet above the ground, providing everything a bustling society would need. Life evolved independently from each other on both worlds, and there are fundamental differences in biology that make Tavati life toxic to consume for Yatuans. They don't walk on the surface in normal clothes or eat any of the aliens because they got arsenic in them, which makes them deadly. You're missing out, dude. This also applies to drinking unfiltered air and breathing unfiltered water. Life on this planet usually has an exoskeleton for support, and sometimes an endoskeleton as well. Creatures here never evolved to be warm-blooded because the moon is quite warm. They don't have lungs, instead using dorsal sails that lead to a system of trachea like earth insects and squirrels. These sails also regulate body temperature. They have one large eye that senses light in the visible spectrum. Exoskeletal organisms feed using an internal muscular mouth which they can reach outside of their endoskeleton. I know I'm a broken record, but dude, how can you not ad-lib a rim job joke here? The majority of life on this planet evolved from the more humble survivors of the extinction. Like how a couple 100 million years ago, you were just some weird rat thing. And look at you now, you're some weird rat thing that found a smartphone. These are Tevats, massive descendants of minuscule extinction survivors. Nearly twice as tall as an earth giraffe, these animals can reach up to 30 feet in height. Like a human post-wood chipper accident, they have 3 limbs, walking on 2 legs and using a third double-jointed arm to pick leaves off the trees to shove into their jawless mouth. They masticate the plant matter using bands of tooth-lined muscle. Tevats have one large eye surrounded by long hairs which are like eyelashes for humans. They also have a thick outer shell and a large sail. This shell helps protect the adults, but babies are more vulnerable before it fully develops. Tevats also have ankle sails used in courtship. If you were a Tevat, to gain the attention of a mate, you would suggestively wiggle your sexy feet skin flaps. And I'm gonna stop talking now. When it's time for sexy times, the males will separate into a bachelor herd and start kicking the literal shit out of each other while the females watch, and when there are a handful of males deemed dominant, they will mate. I think that humans have this too, it's called like football. To mate, they crouch face to face and the male's genitals will pop out from under the mouth hole and go into the female's genitals. 6 to 8 weeks later, the egg is released from the female's anus and pops on contact with the ground like a disgusting Orby.
A baby is born.
They stick close to their mothers and they can run almost immediately after being shat out. Their name comes from how they like to wander long distances to find water holes. Teva in Yatuan means wanderer. This is the plain claw, a common mid-sized predator predator that is a major threat to infant tevats. Like wolves, they live in small groups and have a group dedicated to having sex while cosplaying as them. They're supported by an endoskeleton, but also have a small thin shell that's basically vestigial. They have legs and are capable of running bipedally or tripedally. For hunting, they have a flexible eye stalk and specially adapted eyes for maximum depth perception. This is the prickleback. Angry pinecone is covered in spines to prevent predation. It feeds on nests of small invertebrate creatures. I don't know how this fucking thing moves either, but it manages. They have trouble locating nests on their own due to fucking look at them, but their more agile friend, the blue flyer, locates nests for them and then leads them right to it. After the prickleback eats all the little critters while the flyer watches statistically, the blue flyer slurps up the nectar exposed from destroying the nest and all the generations of creatures. Now that we gotta look at a Yatuan colony, it's time to look at Yeet's homeworld, Yaetu. Many vertebrates here have 6 limbs and tendril-like ears that specialize for a variety of purposes. Intelligent life like that on Yaetu is rare. In fact, Earth and Yaetu are the only known worlds with intelligent life for thousands of light years. It's 80% more massive than Earth, but despite that, the worlds have similar physical properties. Yaetuans have developed sentience. Their society developed from hunter-gatherers to sedentary agriculture to the advent of civilization. Around 4,000 years ago, the environment was about to collapse due to neglect and overexploitation, and for this reason they began to colonize the galaxy as their homeworld healed. Jumping forward, Yaetu is now bustling and dotted with large cities, and the species has expanded across the galaxy, diversifying greatly. All parts of the advanced civilization that damage the world, like agriculture and mining, are done off-world to minimize damage. They have technology far more advanced than that of humanity, and perhaps even the Krail. The Yatuan Empire is a Type 2 civilization, which means they maintain control across multiple star systems. For context, your species is a high-level 0 civilization, which means many of you still struggle with working someone else's shower. They can go faster than light and create massive complex machinery, like Dyson swarms, population ships, and things we can't even fathom. The Yatuan Empire consists of colonies over 10 star systems that kinda act like states, having their own government but communicating with the homeworld. Yatuan society is considered to be post-scarcity, with poverty being virtually a thing of the past. Yaetu actually functions in a feudalist fashion. I know that sounds bad, but this pamphlet I found on the ground says it's not. This results in very little class mobility, but everybody is so comfortable because of the advanced technology and sustainable systems that they don't really give a shit. Plants here are similar to that of Earth, except they have a bright blue color. These are the Yatuan. The Yatuan have an average intellect far above that of a human being. They use their back 4 legs to walk upright while using their other 2 for manipulation of the environment. Their ancestors used to walk on all 6 like a scrambling little beetle. Yatuan have 6 fingers hands with 2 opposable thumbs. They stand around 4 to 5 feet in height, have an oval-shaped head, much of which is devoted to their brain, and 2 sets of forward-facing eyes as well as a beak. There are many different variations of Yatuan stemming from the colony environments and subsequent microevolution that they spurred, and they are not offensive to one another in any way, shape, or form because I wouldn't avoid controversial topics for reasons that don't concern you. Their ear tendrils move in tandem with their vocalizations to display very complex verbal and nonverbal language. While it might sound harsh to human ears as a series of trills and clicks of the teeth, have you ever heard the shriek of a human child? Like humanity, their speech has many different languages and dialects. Even after meeting humans, they still don't believe in another intelligent species existing in the universe. Absolutely savage, but they're not wrong. They have a complex culture that centers on cooperation, preservation, and strong community bonds. Almost like a cross between an ant colony and humans, they are a lot less individualistic than humanity, but still maintain a sense of self. This strong sense of community, along with a community-dependent psychology, allows for the feudalist structure to be a lot less murdery than when humans did it. Despite not believing in any other intelligent beings other than themselves, they do hold beliefs in ethereal, abstract, cosmic beings. They have a different understanding of time than us, thinking it both to be cyclical and linear in nature. One can see the influence of their culture and psychology in their artwork. This is the Wetim. It's kinda like a Yatuan dog. Like Earth doggos, they will fornicate with your leg on sight if you do not establish dominance. Domesticated around 400,000 years ago, wild variants of these animals are still pack-hunting creatures. They have 4 large eyes and sharp-toothed beaks. They walk on all 6s and can run up to 30 miles per hour. Some species have claws that can be over a foot in length. This is a waltif, a flying pollinator and cultural staple food for the Yatuan. Like humans do with pigs, they keep them both around for company and eat them as food. Many apartments have artificial waltif nests that are used as a food source. I was actually very graciously invited to a dinner at a Yatuan home, and was slightly surprised when they pulled a live animal out from the window, bashed it to death on the kitchen counter, and then threw its still bleeding body directly into the oven. I love traveling because you just learn so much about other cultures. Now let's go to our Yatuan correspondent, Yeet.
Thanks, Az. I have no idea what why we hired you to make this. We were asking for an actual footage full-length nature documentary, and instead you took our money and gave us a cartoon series where you watched aliens fuck and then ate them, and you did that to basically everyone that you saw. We will see you in court. Coming up on Earthwatch tonight at 11, now that Valentine's Day is over, pregnancies and suicides are given a break from peak season until, of course, spring break. Back to you, Az.
Well, that's all the worlds in the book. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled to stay tuned for the supercut and Q&A with the author and the artist that worked on the series. Coming soon to a glowing rectangle near you. I want to thank my friend and the very talented author of the Teeming universe, Christian Cline, for getting in contact with me and providing and drawing assets for the creation of these videos. I loved his book, he was really fun to work with, and you should definitely go check out all of his stuff because he's super talented, and honestly, if you don't, you're missing out. I also want to let you know that he's planning on coming out with a second book about the Yatuan, so if you want to stay up to date with that, check his pages out for it. I'd also like to thank Hop for drawing in this basically every episode of the series. They are super talented, super fun to work with, and you should also go check out all of their things. Also, big thanks to Maya Bunny 23 for drawing these new angry stills. They're already a cult classic, but now they are again for the second time. Oh, hey, boy.
You crazy mother...